Hi everyone, this is From the Heart, and today I have an episode and it's just on heartburn. It feels like it's easy for me, but then I started kind of diving into the rabbit hole of it all, and um, so I have like information to at you. And I'm doing it because when I was practicing, I was learning all these ways of like helping women with their symptoms of pregnancy, and when I would dive through something, I would find out that the way that I had been providing care was not the most optimal way of doing it. And so this is just an example of how we can treat things but make the problem worse. Um, Today I have my friend Brianne, and she just like was looking at me diving into some research, and she's like, she knows that when I have a face to respond to, I know that someone understands or not. So, Breeze is holding space for me again. She did that in the gender dysphoria episode. And so thank you, Bree, for just showing up. So if just hearing and like, like knowing that you have a question on your face or whatever, really helps me in delivering information, making sure that the listener understands. And I also would like to thank two other people. There's my friend Jessica, who is a nutritionist, and I've been asking her questions when I couldn't find information. And then there's my friend Montana. When I can't access the full article for research, she is often capable of getting that to me. So, um, I'm grateful for like this little community of people who are helping out for my podcast and um, expressing like the reasons why I left midwifery, because to me it just doesn't feel moral to provide care the way that I'm told to provide care. And I'm just giving snippets in some of my podcasts. The next episode I think is going to be a much heavier one than this one. But this is just a little snippet of what we do to people that may not be helpful. So the other thing that Brianne, like I was like, oh, this is a good idea to put Brianne on the podcast, is just because you had heartburn, I think 10 years ago. And then, so we can talk about that in a little bit. Did you say hi?
I didn't. Sorry.
Oh,
hey, everybody.
Thank you, Brianne. Okay, so basically what heartburn is when the bottom of your esophagus or the opening of your stomach opens up, and then the acid from your stomach kind of climbs into the esophagus. The esophagus feels like it is burning because it doesn't have the lining that the stomach does. So the stomach is okay to hold that acid, but the esophagus should not have any of that acid going through it. So it can create all kinds of symptoms. I think the common one is the burning. And the reason why pregnant women have it more frequently is because as the uterus grows, all of the organs, all the internal organs shift either backwards and upwards. So even like the heart and the lungs are going to shift, and so does the stomach. And then with that pressure from the uterus and changes in hormones where things need to relax to prepare women for labor, some pregnant women have that sphincter, we call it the lower esophageal sphincter, can open, and then women can have more heartburn. So I had different ways of treating it, but I dove into a rabbit hole where we're gonna talk about other things, like for people who aren't pregnant as well. So basically, there are 4 types of medications that people can take when they have heartburn. And all 4 types either neutralize the stomach acid or they reduce or inhibit the production of acid in the stomach. So they basically all do the same thing. They make sure that there's no acid production, or they lower they increase the pH of the acid, neutralizing it. But then if you really go through what needs to happen for digestion. The stomach acid is actually the prerequisite for a healthy digestion. It's the first thing, the first place where food gets to, and acid can protect us as well as create or start the digestion. So for example, the stomach acid helps break down all the nutrients, whether they're macro or micro. So I just have an example here of protein. So when someone is eating protein, the secretion of the acid triggers the production of pepsin. Pepsin is an enzyme that that starts the digestion of protein. If we don't have enough pepsin, then the protein does not separate into amino acids or peptides. And then when we don't have enough amino acids in our system, for example, it can lead to mood disorders. So like anxiety and depression. So that's just like kind of one little rabbit hole you can go through, and then you could do that for all of the nutrients, right? And then find an example of what that could affect in your health. So there are other things that can reduce the stomach acids, and that's age. So all of us who are aging, and what a wonderful privilege it is to age, our acid production decreases. So even like taking things to help increase your acid or going to see someone who can help you take care of your digestion is a good idea later in life, so that we can keep absorbing all the nutrients from our diet. Then the other medications can suppress the stomach acid production. A calcium supplement. I know a lot of people take calcium supplements, and personally, I've always told people not to, because our diet is so full of calcium. Except for like, there's certain people, like I'll just explain, someone who doesn't have a thyroid may need to take a calcium supplement. But if you're a normal, healthy person, I would remove calcium from your supplements and add sesame seeds or leafy greens. You don't even need your dairy. But sesame seeds is one of the foods that has the most amount of calcium that we can take. So a calcium supplement like Tums has calcium in it, and that's what suppresses the acid. So if we're taking a supplement of it, it's basically acting like Tums. And if someone is low in minerals like chlorine, they can have a low production of acid. And then when we have a low production of acid, there are other examples of micronutrients that aren't properly absorbed would be iron. So if you're iron deficient and you're always having a problem with your iron deficiency anemia, this may be something to look at. There's actually a study where they looked at 40 people, and 35 of them, which is 80% of them, had a chronic, wait, I'm reading this wrong. 35 of the 40 people, they had, they did not have a normal acid secretion. So if we just pile up some people who have anemia, iron deficiency, then we can. This is telling us that we can assume that their acid production for a lot of them is inadequate. Then there are also studies that show that having low acid can inhibit our absorption of B12, folate, calcium, zinc, and all of the. So this is funny that taking a calcium supplement or calcium like Tums, which has a lot of calcium, can lowers the absorption, lowers the acid in our stomachs, and then can actually make us deficient in calcium. Yeah. So those are just examples here. And also, if I'm going to go to talk about pregnancy, pregnancy is like an extra important time to be able to absorb nutrients because we're having a rapidly growing fetus inside, and our body and the baby's body needs all these nutrients to form properly. And what happens in utero affects a baby's health for the rest of their life. It's just such an important time to try to be as healthy as possible. And women know that instinctively because the majority of women will actually stop smoking the minute they know that they're pregnant. Like, things change so fast. People make really good decisions when they're pregnant. But this is just another thing to be aware of. Okay, the other part of the stomach acid is that it has a really important role in protecting us from pathogens, so bacteria and that kind of thing. So our mouth and our esophagus and our intestines, which are below the stomach, are full of good bacteria. And the acid can kill a lot of the bacteria that wants to penetrate the stomach either from below or above. So if we're eating and there's bacteria in that isn't good that's going in, the acid will often just like kill it. The stomach is almost like sterile. And then the opposite is even the healthy bacteria in our intestines, if it's trying to get into the stomach, the stomach acid will kill it, which would not be good to have up higher than our intestines for us. Could cause us problems. And just like a recap from, I don't know, high school or elementary school, I'm not sure, pH, if we have a low pH, that's acid. If we have a pH of 7, that's neutral. If we have a higher pH than 7, then it's alkaline. And what we want in a stomach is a pH of 3 or lower when we're not eating. So if the pH in the stomach rises to 5 or above, that's when bacteria species can start to thrive in our stomachs. And then when we take a pill, so like a PPI, that's a type of medication for stopping the stomach acid from secreting. Whereas it can actually cause, if we take more than one pill, it can cause no stomach acid production whatsoever. So, and that's just in a day. Do that make sense so far, Brianne?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Just one pill reduces the stomach acid secretions by 90 to 95% of the rest of the day. So, and most people, if they're taking these medications, they take it more than once a day. So to recap, like when we take heartburn medication, even though we've heard that like acid is what causes heartburn, it actually creates, like, taking these medications will suppress the symptom at the time that you're taking it, but then over time will actually cause more digestive problems, which will increase pressure in the stomach, and then the valve at the bottom of the esophagus is going to open up more. And I'm going to put a lot of information in the show notes, and because things are so specific to different people, and what the cause is and all that stuff, that I can't go through that apart from pregnancy. So when there's not enough stomach acid production, there's all kinds of mild digestions, like carbohydrates don't get digested properly. We talked about the proteins, and then which then this is just a small list, unfortunately, that when we have low acid, it can cause these problems. And I'm gonna list them out just because if it can ring a bell for you to start, like, you're like, oh, I'm at risk of having this. I should look into it. So I'm just gonna read them out. Okay, so you can have, because of the increase in bacteria, we have increased risk of pneumonia, tuberculosis, typhoid, listeria, C. difficile, etc. We also have a weaker immune system eventually from having low acid. It increases inflammation. It eventually leads to stomach cancer, IBS, Crohn's, ulcers, etc., more digestive problems, asthma, as well as, actually, I could look at my notes from below. I'm pretty sure that it is associated with asthma childhood asthma if it's taken prenatally, and a childhood allergies if it's taken prenatally as well. Okay, so then let me go back to my list. Mood disorders we talked about because of the amino acids. Allergies, even if you're not pregnant, it can happen to you as well. Skin diseases of all kinds, gallstones, autoimmune diseases. I actually sent my friend who has an autoimmune disease, and I sent her like the little thing from Chris Kresser, who, like, the articles will be in the show notes. And she was reading that. She thought it was really interesting. She's really on a health kick right now. It's really helping her. So any autoimmune disease, just look into Chris Kresser's information. Look at the research that he posts. Osteoporosis, obviously, because of the lack of mineral absorption. Type 1 diabetes. And then, of course, it increases the amount of heartburn and GERD. So this is actually a really good cash cow for the pharmaceutical companies. Because what it is it's treating your heartburn in the moment, but then it's making you dependent on these drugs for the rest of your life or the rest of your pregnancy. So, and it's not treating the cause of the problem. It's just symptom suppressing. Okay, so I wrote down a few things for treatment, and honestly, like, I can't go through that, but it is just because it's good for everyone's digestion to reduce sugar. Fructose and artificial sweeteners is actually an association between the two, but it's like in our minds we can kind of understand that. And also, if you need to reset your gut because you've taken antacids or you just had like other gut issues going on for a while, cutting out sugars, like, kind of like the thing that helps everyone in getting healthy. Brianne and I were just talking about how we both need to reduce the amount of sugar, and I keep saying that all the time. Like, I shouldn't have had that milkshake, and that kind of thing. So it's good for us to cut that out or reduce it, and being realistic with ourselves, and where we can do that, and that kind of thing. And then you see the benefits, and then you want to do more and more and more reducing of sugar intake. If you want to restore your gut, like adding bone broth to your diet. I'm someone who makes my own bone broth. So I get bones from the farmer's market or chicken feet from the farmer's market, and then I put it in my crock pot with a ton of water, a little bit of salt, a little bit of lemon juice to it, and I have it on low for 24 hours. And then when I put it in jars, in like mason jars, not all the way up, I put it in the fridge, and then when I get it out of the fridge, it looks like the consistency is like Jello. So that's how I make it. But then there are other butchers and people at the farmers markets who make them for you as well. You can add them to your soup. You can add them to your broth, to your stews. You can drink it like a tea. You can make a flavorful one. I even had like a hot chocolate bone broth before from a farmer that I buy meat from. So There you can also take some probiotics or take food that are fermented. Chris Kresser has a recommendation for probiotics, and it's called seed. And I started kind of looking into seed, and it sounds like it's a good deal going on here. And actually, I won't go into why, because I'm not 100% sure why, but I have an idea. But anyways, you can go and dive into that yourself. If you are deficient in nutrients, you might need to add more foods that are rich in those things, or start supplementing with those things. And this may mean that you need to go talk to someone who knows a lot about diet. So a naturopath. You, Brianne, you went to talk to a functional medicine person, right? How do we find, do we just like write in Google like functional medicine practitioner? Is the
Yeah,
the
I
city?
feel like they might be like a functional medicine doctor. Like I'm not sure like what their credentials are, but yeah, like I just Googled it and like he came up. I think like he also has like other practitioners like working with him that are naturopaths. It's like people who are just treating like illnesses or things like with a more natural approach.
Yeah, and it's also functional would mean that it's not just treating the symptom, it's treating the cause. And
Mhm.
have a really in-depth understanding of food and the effects of food, and so digestion and all that stuff. They would know a lot more than what I'm saying. So there's that. Even like a nutritionist. Honestly, you can start off with just reading the articles by Chris Kresser, and will give a lot of information to people. But if you're pregnant, or if you just need to like start treating your symptoms right now, you want to eat small meals rather than 3 large ones or 2 large ones. If your stomach isn't too full, whenever we eat like too much, we all feel like meh. So kind of like listening to your digestion. Sometimes eating with people, even though I love to eat with people, sometimes I overeat then. So those are just things for me to like keep my awareness on in myself. And then the other thing that can help if you're dealing with symptoms of heartburn, you just don't want to drink water while you're eating the meal. And another friend of ours, Brianne and I's friend, said that the Ayurvedic recommendation is not to have water for half an hour before and half an hour after the meal, because then it keeps the acid concentrated in your stomach. And if when we drink water, especially, it dilutes the stomach acid. You don't want to eat foods for 2 to 3 hours before you lay down. You don't want to bend things. You don't want to bend forward. You want to keep your head elevated basically after you've eaten. And you want to avoid foods that cause heartburn. And so that will be like the really intensely greasy foods. And you might know better what increases heartburn for you. Some people find that spicy foods cause heartburn. I just want to say that I don't feel that that's normal. Spices are actually the second most nutrient food that for humans. So avoiding that can limit our absorption of so many nutrients if we have to avoid herbs and spices. So like I would say that that's a symptom that where you should kind of start looking into how you can treat so that you can eat spicy food. And of course, most of us don't need deep fried food, because most of the foods we deep fry are in oils that aren't really great for us. And then I'm just gonna talk about I'm just gonna list some treatments that some people have found beneficial. There's no research. I cannot promise any research on these, even though I like to be quite evidence-based, but basically because the majority of medical research is funded on by pharmaceutical companies, and there's no money to be made off of apple cider vinegar, then we won't find a lot of research on those sorts of things. And this is just more information. Drug companies make more than 7 billion just selling acid suppressing medications. So, you know, this is just the way our culture works, unfortunately. But we, like me, myself, Brianne herself, we all can kind of decide where our money goes, and we don't need to support that sort of business. And me telling my clients back in the day when I used to practice that I did not recommend acid suppressing drugs or acid neutralizing drugs, that I was doing my part. We can all just do our little parts, right? So the thing is I didn't look into, do we take these while you're having the symptoms, or do we take these to prevent the symptoms? So the only two that I know are basically, because I would tell my clients to take a papaya enzymes with meals, that was to prevent. The papaya enzymes will help like digest foods better. And then if you had heartburn, I would say that you could treat it with slippery elm bark. Again, no research, but that is what I recommended, as well as acupuncture, actually. So those are the things I would recommend to my pregnant clients. I had a client who wrote a blog. No, I did not have a client. I found a blog. And she recommended, she used bentonite clay mixed in water, and that's what she would drink while she would have heartburn. So it was to treat the symptom while she had it. But then there are other people who drink lemon juice, apple cider vinegar. They will eat the raw sauerkraut and pickles, so not the ones with the vinegar inside, but the ones that are fermented. People take aloe vera, ground flaxseed oil, or just ground flaxseed while they're having the symptoms. And then some other people will take some, they'll replace their stomach acids with digestive enzymes and the, what do you call it? And is it like the acid? They'll actually take a supplementation of acid, which is what Chris Kresser recommends. I actually don't know that you can take that in pregnancy. So just something to look into if you do have low acid production. But if it's just because your stomach is getting bigger, that you have the heartburn, that may not help you to treat your heartburn, because it's purely physical and not an acid production problem. You can take your enzymes, your digestive enzymes, like papaya and other ones, and you can take bitters. So if you're pregnant, just be careful with the things I have said, because they're not all pregnancy. I haven't looked to see if they were all pregnancy safe. There has been research on rats that said that turmerics can help. There's another research that I'll post that probiotics can reduce reflux. I'm also going to post a case report of what it can look like to see a functional medicine doctor practitioner. Yeah, so those are the things I'm going to post. Brianne, do you have do you want to tell us what you did, what you thought has helped you when you were seeking care for your heartburn?
Yeah, for me, as some of the recommendations were like I did the aloe vera juice because it helped like cool or like help to reduce the inflammation. The ground flaxseed oil, it helps like coat the stomach lining. So those I found really helpful. And I also would drink like a slippery elm tea. So I did the tea, the ground flaxseed, and then I also was doing the apple cider vinegar as well.
Cool. Nice. And do you want to expand people into because like, so I'm just going to say that like I find that physicians are experts in treating things with medications and surgery, and they sometimes use screening or diagnostic tools, and I feel like that really is their expertise, and their expertise doesn't go into things that we call functional medicine or naturopathic care and that kind of thing. So do you want to tell them your story? You went to get care and then you followed your intuition?
Yeah, like I went to the doctor and they wanted to put me on like I think a couple different medications. And then I felt like overwhelmed by like being on more medications. So then I just started doing like my own research and then for like how to treat it naturally. So then I just started like I put the medications aside and then I just started like doing those protocols, like taking the aloe vera, taking the ground flaxseed, taking the slippery elm, and then I like booked an appointment with like a functional medicine doctor, and then he did like all of these different tests on me, and he also helped me like change my diet as well, which I felt was like a really, I think like diet honestly is like one of the key factors, as well as like supporting um the system with other like tools and aids like the apple cider vinegar and whatnot. But yeah, changing my diet. So I like took out dairy and gluten, which is going to be different for every individual. Like the assessment that he did on my body was like that. And I think I stopped eating like tomatoes, and there was just like a certain list of things I stopped eating. And then like slowly over time, my system, like I didn't have it anymore. Like it went away, which was amazing. So
Yeah, it wasn't a lifetime of no tomatoes.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing too is like I feel, and you could like I've noticed like with my like you can introduce things and then sometimes it will flare up and then you sort of like come back to that place of center. But that was the thing though, when I got when they were giving me the prescriptions, like when I did the research, that's what I also noticed was like over time it actually caused more long-term effects. So I think it's just good to question. I think it's good to go get an opinion from a doctor, but like I'm somebody who likes to get opinions from a couple of different places because it's just to really see like a bigger picture.
Yeah. And learn about your body. Yeah. And like digestion is like kind of a thing that influences everything in our bodies because it's providing, so like iron deficiency, if you are iron deficient, you are not providing adequate oxygenation to all your cells, right? And that's just one thing from digestion. So digestion affects everything and feeds all of our entire body. So that's like you're such a great example of how you followed your intuition and how like you treated yourself in a way where you don't have to it doesn't affect you anymore. Your heartburn doesn't affect you. It's cured. And then if it was to come back, you actually would have a baseline because you have increased the knowledge on your body and how it functions. Yeah. That's how like my naturopath has done so much for me, and I like barely have to see her because I treat myself from the things she has taught me. So, Anyhow, that's my episode. Do you have questions, Brianne, or other things?
No, thanks for having me on. I feel like it's been fun watching your research and then like being here with you in this process and also like learning things, like I feel like I really like I knew about the enzymes are really good, but I'm like, oh, like I forgot about them because I used to eat the seeds when I was living in Mexico, and I'm like, oh, like that would be something good to incorporate as well. And also just getting the digestive enzymes as well. I've taken those before, and they also have been very helpful.
Yeah, or bitters when we have like when I'm with people and I eat too much, just kind of because I did this, I'm like, oh, I need to prioritize like my digestion. So like it's like it made me think of like maybe potential supplements I want to take depending what happens with my health. So I don't need to like jump on anything myself, but just using my intuition and my knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Brianne.
Well, thank you, Leanne.
Have a good day, everyone.